All right. Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to our first Borderline of 2024 alongside Bernie
Wow.
Neighbors. I'm Jeff McCarriger. So much to talk about coming off a huge weekend in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, the high school championships, the college national championships. Plus, we've got a little bit of college football to talk about, just a little bit. We've got our on, off, and in segment. Remind me, we've got
Uh-huh.
to leave time for that because a lot to
Okay.
talk about
All right.
and new power rankings out this week. And I'm interested to hear yours because it's so difficult. I know we say this every week, but man, it's getting super hard. And especially now that we have so many opens to gauge before we actually get to what the new Pro Series is going to be. So
Yeah.
I know it was difficult for me. I
Yeah.
left some names in there that I still have question marks about. We'll get to it later. And I know you said just before we came on that yours is like entirely different. So I can't wait to
And,
get it.
it's just you can't keep certain. It doesn't mean that they've fallen off a cliff. You know what I mean? Like they're still amazing players, and still could easily be top 10 in 2 weeks, or after the next couple opens, right? But
Yeah.
just I don't know, man. I can't just keep putting guys in there just because of who they've been.
A little foreshadowing. I think because all right. I think you tipped your hand a little bit. I think I might know who might be missing in
There's a
your
few.
your power
There's a
rankings.
few. Yeah.
All right, so we've got a ton to get to on again our very first episode of Borderline here in 2024. So hey, before we get started, just a little bit of love for the league. Had a great weekend, and not to sound too hokey, but hey, I know things aren't perfect in the ACL, but I tell you what, Stacy and the staff, you, Wally, all right, I don't want to get into this game again where I start naming names.
Right.
Chasing Corey with the live stream. Just, I mean, endless amount of names, right?
Yeah.
I will give a huge shout out to Kat. She's my number one. I mean, she's like becoming really my go-to person behind the scenes of the broadcast. But shout out to everyone behind the scenes with the ACL. That was a beast of a tournament. For those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, New Year's Eve weekend has become basically kind of the mecca of it was the college cornhole national championships, and now
Yeah.
we've added high school in there as well. So Bernie, I mean, you can give me all the numbers. I mean, I think there was over 1,000 people there in Myrtle Beach this weekend. I walked in
Oh, well over.
for the open, for all the different levels. I
Mhm.
mean, literally 1,000 people or more, or a little under, playing cornhole. It was a monster event, and to pull something off like that is not easy. It takes such an incredible team to pull that off. So
Yeah.
congratulations to everybody on staff. I know y'all work super hard. So congratulations. I mean, that was a monster
Well,
weekend.
they did. Josh Keck and his crew of directors crushing it with Athena and that whole group, and then
Yeah.
Kat. Which actually, Kat and I got to spend some time on the live stream for an hour or two. That was
I saw
fun.
and I love that because I think you do a great job. And I'm telling you, Kat, I know she's just stretched too thin. I know she'd love to be on the air a little bit
Oh
more.
yeah,
But she just doesn't have time, and her skill set is much more, as good as she is on the air. Her skill set's much more valuable behind the scenes. That being said, she sounds amazing. She sounds great
yeah.
on the air.
She's
I
awesome.
loved her voice
Yeah.
from the first day I heard her. Oh, I don't know when it was. I think she was filling in during one of our national qualifiers or something like that. And I'm like, dang, whose voice is that? She does a great job.
Oh yeah, she was, and she had to call one of Tanner's matches, and it was so funny because she said she wasn't doing
So
it,
that
but she had completely turned to watch the board he was throwing to, as to not make eye contact with him. I think so. It's I was, of
yeah.
course, I'm giving her a hard time during the match, but it was fun. We had a good time. It was a lot of fun.
And again, for those people out there, Jade and others, Tanner Halbert, one of the top
Yes.
pros in the game. Kat is Tanner's wife. So yeah, and Trey and I have talked about this on the air. It's one thing to be nervous when you're playing, but to watch a family member, and we talk to family members during the broadcast. It's just so grueling, right? It's just agonizing to
You know
watch
what?
a family member play.
To your point, I think that's one of the reasons why. I don't know if you noticed this. You guys had headphones on. You were totally immersed in the action. How quiet it was for high school and college. And it's so different. It had been so fun, so fun for the college kids in the past. I think the parents and family members were just so nervous that they couldn't handle it. And it was so quiet in there. And it was like more quiet than normal. So obviously the friends and family members just couldn't handle it. It was just too nerve-wracking for them, because it was like we were trying to, hey, pump, do this, do that, to try to get something, some sort of reaction from the crowd, and they were just on pins and needles. They couldn't deal.
Yeah,
they were just struggling watching their kids.
With that, let's get into it. Let's just get right into this.
Sure.
With the event this weekend, because I'd love to get your general thoughts on this. Yes, it was quiet, and that is definitely the next step that we have to take as a league, is getting people in there to watch. And I talk about this ad nauseum, right? That we got to take the game to the people. We got to start, getting spectators to watch our sport, because it is so much fun to watch. And something that we have found out is that cornhole players and family members make awful fans. Because you're right, they're just so they either want to be playing, or they're so nervous watching loved ones that it's really hard to cheer. But it was pretty quiet in there.
Like other sports, they will cheer if it's a David versus Goliath type situation, right? Like you've got a name player and someone has found a way onto the broadcast court and they take it deep, right? It's 18-17 late in a match. People will wake up and people will get involved. But they do that for every sport, right? But we've got to find a way where people are invested in the first bag, and it's not so much the first bag, it's round 4 or 5, right? Now they're into it. Now they're playing, and it just got so quiet. I mean, it was so quiet. It was crazy.
Here's my question. With this being one of the largest opens, like in the history of the sport.
The largest.
It was the largest. Okay. So with this being the largest open in the history of the sport, how do we get those players to fill up the stands for the high school and the college kids?
They were playing
in support. Oh,
they were playing.
So first off, we need to shut things down and see if we can funnel those people.
Well, we used to.
It would have been great to have all those people over and supporting those kids.
Yeah, we didn't have the numbers before like we did this year, and so to basically get the tournaments done, they had to let them keep playing. Because in the past, remember, they would cut the lights, everybody comes over, and I think that's another reason why players, when they're watching, sometimes feel like they're forced to watch, so they're not as excited. They would just rather get back to playing sometimes. You know what I mean? Like they want to get back to the match. And so they're like, all right, so I got to sit here, blah, blah. But yeah, it was tough because of just the numbers and the sheer, size of the tournament to get the tournament done. Because once again, we don't know these buildings. So we can't just stay in there till 6, even though people think that we should be able to do that. It's just not how it works. We can't do that. So, if we've got to get done, even though we're not getting done really at a reasonable hour, 12:30, 1 o'clock? For the, there's a staff member there that has to sit there, and I'm telling you, more often than not, they're not getting paid a lot, right? They just have to be there to lock the door, so they're not all jazzed up to be there that late. But I think they do the best they can. We've got to find a way to get random fans in. I don't know how we do that. I don't know. Which, as much as we talk about it, I don't have an answer. I don't know. I know the biggest turnout we ever had was because of free beer, and is that the ticket? Do we really have to start doing that to get people in? In Nashville, for example, there was free beer involved. Is that what it takes?
There are ways of doing it. Again, it goes back to manpower. With Coastal Carolina, I guess this is probably the most apples to apples example I can give, because Coastal Carolina is literally right up the road. It's in Conway, South Carolina, which is 25 minutes away from the venue that we were just playing in. And Coastal Carolina, while is a terrific draw for football, not so much for basketball. So what they do is they go around to the high school coaches and call the high schools and get the high school teams out there. Hey, you guys want to bring your team out and watch watch some basketball? Sure. I know going on this weekend, I don't know if this works or not, I'm just throwing stuff out, but I know this weekend they had the Beach Ball Classic. For those who are not basketball fans, the Beach Ball Classic is one of the premier AAU high school tournaments in the country. Not just on the East Coast, not just in South Carolina, in the country. You have big-time coaches, big-time scouts watching these kids play. So, can we go up and do we have some marketing people and go up to these people and say, hey, when you're not playing, we got some, professional cornhole going on. Come over and have fun. And maybe we give the kids a free hot dog, free hot dog, free popcorn to come over, something like that, just to get people over there. Because like I've said a million times, no one ever walks away from our sport saying, man, I hated that. That was stupid. They love it.
Oh,
they all love it every time they walk away. So I don't know, maybe something like that.
Sure. By the way, speaking of growth of the league,
yeah,
there were actually college scouts there this weekend.
That was great. I know we talked about that on the air. Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. That's and that's such a short amount of time, right? I mean, like we just started high school in earnest a few years ago, and now, there's actually college coaches college recruiters checking out these kids as they play.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
We interviewed Dusty Thompson on the broadcast, the head cornhole coach at Winthrop. And he was there. He was there. He said he wasn't going to tell us who he was watching, but he had his eye on a few.
There was another guy out of California that was there. That's why he was there.
Yeah, I love that.
That's crazy.
Scouts for professional cornhole or for college cornhole. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well, somebody that they had to have their eye on as we kind of narrowed down throughout some names. I think my if I had to pick one player who I was most impressed with, Tony Forbes. I was impressed with him as much off the boards as I was on the boards. So he was the high school national champion out of I think it's Vacaville, California is how you say it. I heard some people saying Vacaville, but I think it's Vacaville, California. So congratulations to Tony. But Tony, just a different level. We joke all the time on the broadcast. Used to joke all the time about a 5-tool player, right? And I would always make that crossover and that comparison, that analogy to a major league pitcher who has 5 or 6 pitches, right?
Right.
Who these pitches they can throw with equal confidence. Well, Tony's that guy. Tony has 5 pitches that he throws. He has 5 throws that he throws, and he's got a cut, a reverse cut, rolled shot, airmail, slide shot. Obviously, some of the basic shots, but he has 5 shots that he can throw, all with equal confidence. And boy, did he! And he went on to be the champion. But I thought he was just incredible to watch, and what a terrific kid behind the scenes, because he takes the mental game of cornhole to a different level. He basically, I love it when guys do this. He's taken everything he's learned from being a high-level baseball player, a pitcher, to cornhole. Mm-hmm. So he literally sits down and has a game plan. Okay, who am I facing? What are his strengths? What are his weaknesses? What do I want to stay away from? How am I going to face him? What am I going to do in late game situations? Just like a pitcher and a catcher meet before a game. Like if I'm the pitcher, and we know that Bernie is on a hot streak. Me and my catcher are meeting before the game. All right, what kind of spray charts do we have? What kind of scouting do we have? Do we need to stay away from the inside pitch? Do we need to go low and away? That's how he looks at cornhole. So to talk to him off the court, like I said, was almost as impressive as watching him execute it on the court. But Tony Forbes will be a fun player to watch.
Yeah, I hope since we're getting to this point, we're going to have to figure out what we do, because obviously, you've got the Landon Basses, you've got some other guys that are just so good as high school players. Are they going to play college? Right. I mean, now the fact that we've got 13, 14-year-olds being dominant players on the pro level, is that kid going to go to college to play? Right. And I wonder if we get to the point where we do what the NCAA does with baseball. Right. You can go as an 18-year-old into the minor leagues, right? But you can't play college anymore. You have to make that choice. And then once you make that choice, you're locked into 3 years on that choice.
I've always liked that. Do you like? Is that old school, or do you like that?
No, I like it. Hey, look, you want to go do your thing at 18 and be an adult and be a professional and earn money and do that. That's on you. You are technically an adult, even though if you ask me what I think about 18-year-olds being considered adults, have you spoken to one recently? But then beside that, seriously, but if you commit to that college, you're that coach and that program, especially in other sports, is devoting a lot to you once you decide to go. And so I think to then just, you have that option at 18 to go play pro, right? If you don't do that, I think you owe those schools 3 years, my opinion. I think a lot of people disagree with that, but it's,
Yeah, I like it.
You've got the other choice at 18, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep. No, I've always really liked that rule in baseball. So yeah, but all these decisions, I mean, this will have to be made sometime in the near future as well.
Yeah. And
What they do with
basketball,
this.
wish we'd get back to that, but they won't because and it's so funny how pro basketball is basically dictating that whole thing. They don't feel like coaching those kids, and they don't feel like they're the unnecessary risk they've taken in the past with drafting 18-year-olds. And
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
risk, right?
Yeah.
So they want them to go to college for at least a year so they can see. And
Yep.
that's ridiculous. It's like,
Well, and as a parent, and again, this could just be me being totally just conservative as a parent. I've never liked the thought of a high school kid being drafted as a
whoops.
17, 18-year-old out of high school and joining the pros where there are all kinds of things you can get into trouble with. I mean, you're
Yeah,
traveling
sure.
around with men, right, who are of
Yeah.
legal age to do many, many
Yeah.
things. And I don't think
Mm-hmm.
I would want my 18-year-old boy
It's money. It's
graduating
all
from high
about money.
school, going into the pros, traveling around with money and all those vices all
Eh,
around. Just not sure they're ready
yeah.
for it. But again, I
They're
got
they're
kids. My
absolutely
dad
not
is
ready
convinced.
for
I
it.
mean,
They're
it is
absolutely
what
not
it is.
ready for it, but
Yeah.
you grow up and the family's destitute, right? I mean, you're struggling to eat. That changes your whole philosophy on that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yep.
completely different.
All right, we got to keep moving on.
Yep.
You mentioned Landon Bass. Great to meet Landon Bass and Anthony Eastridge. Got a shout out from Anthony on Facebook. So peace, brother. Great to meet you. He's the kid who is does not look like a high schooler, but he is. Trust me, he is. All the
He's got 3
paperwork is
kids.
complete. Six
He's
foot
got 3 kids
seven.
ready for college. Yeah.
6'7", dude plays basketball. Team's good. I think they made the state semifinals. I mean, really good kid. So that was fun for me behind the scenes. It's a chaotic, hectic day because we never know who's there, right? Until we know, and so we try and sit down and catch up with as many of these kids as possible. Really all of them great kids, but so great to meet so many. But yeah, so Tony really stuck out to me. Tony Forbes from California.
I got to call a couple of his games. He was great.
Oh, good.
Really was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And let's see on the double side for high school. That's right. Ian Johnson and Nathaniel Langley win the high school doubles championship. Nathaniel, well, both, I don't want to call either one. Both of them were great to watch.
Mm-hmm.
College side, Clayton Eli and Austin Waskow from Blinn College. No surprise. Blinn College, for those of you who don't know, basically it sounds like Blinn College, a junior college, is becoming a feeder school of cornhole to Texas A&M.
Apparently.
And I mean, these kids at Blinn are playing every day with the Caleb Batsons of the world, right? I mean, all those great players down in the Texas area. AJ Sims literally works at Texas A&M, an ACL pro, so they play in and amongst these pros all the time. So no surprise that they're really good. But Blinn College, I don't know. I'm on the fence. You and I were talking about this. I love in the ACL. That anyone can play, anyone can win, and I love the fact that we are so inclusive with our sport that whether you play for a 2-year junior college, a tech school, or Auburn, you've got a chance to win the national championship.
Yep.
But that being said, I think we have to throw it out there. Like, is it? It would have been. I like that the 3-year SEC reign came to an end. But going back to what you said at the beginning with the David versus Goliath, I think I would have liked to have seen like a Colorado or a Tennessee in the finals against a Blinn or against a Delta or an Indiana State, because I think that's when it really becomes fun.
It's tough.
I didn't see any major schools.
It's hard to get buy-in from the major schools. The kids themselves have to buy in. The major schools, are still kind of in that turn their nose up a little bit at the sport, because getting on ESPN and stuff like means nothing to them. Their football program or their basketball program's on every week, right? Yeah. So they don't have the same feeling about it, where the smaller schools are all in, right? They don't really get this kind of exposure. So
but for 3 years they were there.
Well, the players were. I mean, they weren't really getting any help.
Schools.
Yeah, but they weren't getting any help from the school, where some of these other kids are actually getting some help from the school. And like the Blaine Rosiers and those folks, I mean, they're doing that on their own at Auburn, right? Like the
Oh, for
Auburn's
sure.
not
Yeah.
giving them any space to play and not doing anything for them.
Yeah.
So it's that was all on them. But hey, I mean, I'm with you. It's so difficult. Like, would it be better if it's Alabama against Tennessee or something? Like, would it be
Yeah.
better? Would it be better if it was some kid that goes to I can't even think of a school, right? But anyway, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, there is that David versus Goliath aspect that's
Yeah.
cool, but it gets
I would like
tough.
to. I would like to have seen. I mean, selfishly as a broadcaster, I would like to have seen like star power, right?
Mhm.
Or a great storyline. Like a David versus Goliath, like Blinn against
Mhm.
the defending champs.
Yeah, I just
Against an
don't know
Auburn or
what
Tennessee
does
or
it do for
Texas
the
A&M. Or
sport? What does it do for the sport to have two tech schools going against each other? Is
yeah,
that a good thing or is that a bad thing? I don't know.
I don't know.
I
Time
don't
will
know.
tell,
I
I
mean,
guess.
I've literally thought about it a lot over the last week. Like, is that a good thing? It's
Yeah,
good
to
for
have
those
Piedmont Tech
kids.
against
It's great for those kids and their family members. But I'm talking, and great for cornhole. If you know those folks, that's awesome, right? But that's not what I'm talking about. Is it good for the sport as a whole? I don't know, right? And like that's the tough
my gut feeling,
rub of it.
Bernie. As much as you and I have talked about this, my gut feeling is it is because it's still at the end of the day,
Mhm.
Piedmont Tech versus Blinn. I don't know. Like, so when someone turns on the TV, do they look at that and say,
That's
I
what I'm
don't know if
saying.
I want to watch this, or do they look at it and they say, huh,
Interesting. Yeah.
interesting.
Way
I
to
think
go.
I think it takes I think it's going to take a little bit more time. I think when people understand the fact that it's not just what I'm fearful of is someone turning on the TV and saying, well, of course it's Piedmont Tech and Blinn College because
Exactly.
Auburn's not playing cornhole, when we know
Exactly.
that's not true because again the SEC won 3
Right.
straight
Right.
years.
Right.
So, we try during the broadcast to mention multiple times that this sport, includes 2-year schools, tech schools,
Hmm.
and major colleges. So I hope, I think it's just going to take time for people to get that message because at the end of the day, I do feel like it's probably unique and fun that we do that. But if every year it's Piedmont Tech,
Right. Then it
um,
becomes a problem, and then it plays
yeah,
into a trope about the sport that other people outside of the game have about it. By the way,
yep,
you're talking about taking the game to the people. We did that this weekend with having our live stream on TikTok.
yes,
Man, that was hysterical
huge.
because you're getting people. So if you're reading through the comments, obviously however their algorithms are working, people that know nothing about the sport, it's
Are
showing
getting
up
it.
on their page. Yeah, and so it was hysterical to read
Love
through
it.
those comments when it was going on. It was great, and the numbers, by far our most watched program platform by far.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And you're right, that's a great example. Via social media, but a great example. You
Yep.
take it out there into the public. And yeah, I mean, yeah, there's people make fun of it. But you know what? That's the fun part to me,
But, oh yeah,
because they're
but the
still
people,
watching. They're
but the
still watching.
people, oh, they stayed on. That's the whole
Yeah.
point. Like they may
Yep.
have been making, but they were there for 30 minutes to an hour. They
Yes.
were invested, and then the folks that were watching that knew what was going on would be schooling them. And then the arguments
Yep.
start. It was great. It was a lot of fun to watch that.
I'm telling you, because it's great. And people, people can turn it on for the first time or the second time, third time, whatever, and they're like, oh man, what is this? Why is cornhole on TikTok? Why is it? And all of a sudden they're like, wait a second. These guys are good. And all of a
It's
sudden you get hooked watching those bags fly and listening to guys like you and me and Wally and all the live stream people, talk about what they're doing and the fact they're doing it for 27/30 feet away. All of a sudden they're like, oh, wait a second. Okay, this is like different level. And they
and we
stay
had
and
yeah,
watch.
and we had to make sure that to your point, you're going to love this. We had to make sure that we were talking about strategy because once again, a lot of the group on TikTok know nothing about the sport. They don't play the
Right.
sport. They know nothing about it. So when there's 8 bags sitting on the board, you start getting that. Well, I'm better than that. But you start getting but they don't understand the strategy of it. So you had to
Yeah.
kind of walk them through that. But to your point, the people that don't know the sport are looking at that as, well, that's not very good. Like that's not pro level anything, right? And that's to your point, which I was going to give you. I wrote that down to tell you on this broadcast because I was literally reading that the random folks who have no idea what's going on, and they see 8 bags just laying around the board. We're like, what? I mean, me and my friends can do that. You know what I mean? Like, so it was interesting.
Yep.
It was interesting to read from those folks.
When you watch professional sports, you want to see greatness, and the biggest feather in my cap for that was to hear Chris Collinsworth on a nationally televised NFL game about a month ago, and I brought it up on the show, say the exact same thing. You know, when you turn on an NFL game, you want to see greatness, and
Absolutely.
you want to see it played at the highest level, and you want to see something that you cannot do at home. And
Right.
so, yeah, that's why I mentioned those type of things.
It was interesting. So we had to start talking about, like, look, this is what's going on. They're setting up a block. This is a back block. This is why they're doing, like, so you kind of had to, you know, we're doing, you know, cornhole 101 while it was taking place, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun to get those reactions from people.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, you know, obviously it's funny from random person in, you know, Germany when it pops up. Right? I mean, TikTok's worldwide, right?
Yeah.
So like the random people are like, what
Love
is
it.
happening right now? So it was funny.
I love that. That's so much fun. Yeah, that's great. All right, wrapping things up here with high school and the college. Brandon Earls, congratulations to you. Out of Delta College. Not only did Brandon Earls win, but he knocked off Cole Brewer, who was the defending champion. Cole had a chance, and Cole, you talk about great kids.
Yes.
Cole is another one. Man, terrific guy. I think a lot of people were rooting for him to become the first back-to-back college champion, and made it all the way to the finals. And Brandon Earls was just, I mean, just put the hammer down in that finals. Brandon threw really good, forced Cole to really be aggressive. Cole made a couple of mistakes, and all of a sudden it was over. But actually, Brandon beat Cole twice that day. Beat him in rounders and beat him in the finals. So
I love what he had to say, Cole Brewer, about the fact that he played his game. You know, he was really proud of him. I just thought it was great talk from a 19, 20-year-old kid. You know, look, this is my game. This is all it is right now. Do I need some more stuff? Maybe. But I played my game the whole way, and it almost won again.
yeah.
Like, you know, acknowledging that the game has changed, you know, the rolls, the cuts, a lot of this stuff that he doesn't really have in his arsenal. But he was a really, really good kid. He should have been tweeting up Larry Bird, you know, Indiana State's other very famous alumnus. Like, dude,
that's right.
Larry, check it out, man.
Yeah.
Sycamores.
Yeah, I told a few people with the ACL. I don't know if they did it, but going back to Clayton Eli and Austin Waskow, being from Blinn College. Blinn College is where Cam Newton got his start. So he was the starting quarterback for Blinn, and then went to Auburn, and then of course onto the Panthers.
You mean his restart?
Yes, yeah, his restart. Yeah. But so I don't know if somebody. I wanted someone with the lead to tweet out to Cam, hey, you're not the only champion at Blinn College, you know, and see if he would have taken the bait at all. He might have. I don't know if we reached out to him or not, but anyway, congratulations to all the high school and college players and champions. One more comment on the whole thing. Damn, are those high school kids good? I remember I think it was when I was hosting. I think it was when I filled in for Mish for Around the ACL and the final show of 2023. One of the hot take questions for Anthony and Trey was something along the lines of, you know, is the high school division better than the college? Wow. Yeah, the high school players, man, they are good. And if that's the future of the sport, man, look out. I mean, Mark Richards, Tony Smith, you are going to have some heat on you. These kids are good. They are really, really good.
And it's, you know, look at our top level pros that are high school age kids or middle school. Yeah, crazy.
Yep.
It's crazy, actually, how good they are.
All right, we've got on, off, and in to get to. We've got power rankings to get to. Just a couple of quick comments before we get to that stuff.
Okay.
Iowa.
I knew you were going to bring it. I was watching some of it.
As everyone turns off the podcast.
Yeah, I was watching some of that game. I was like, Jeff is loving this.
All right. All I'm asking for, and I'm going to relate this to cornhole with the DPR stat. All I'm asking for is just is make sure that we are comparing apples to apples, right? If you want to throw out stats and generalities, that's fine. Just make sure that we have perspective on everything. You know, Iowa, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time with this, I promise. 10-4, right? Everyone's like, why are they getting rid of the offensive coordinator? What, why this? It's fool's gold. It's fool's gold, and it's a different level. So Iowa, did they have a good year? Yeah, they had 10 wins. They had a really good year, 10-4. However, if you look at the 3 teams that they played who were ranked in the top 25, and again, there were only 3 teams that they played who were ranked in the top 25. I looked at it this morning. This will even blow you away. Iowa was outscored by these 3 and only 3 top 25 teams, 92-0. They didn't score a point against a team in the top 25. So again, bring this around to DPR. I'm not saying I don't like the DPR stat. Let's get some perspective on it.
Sure.
It's like basketball stats right now, right? And basketball stats at the mid-major level are pretty meaningless. You've played a lot of D2 schools, you've played a lot of NAIA schools. Coastal Carolina's got a kid, John Ogiaco. Dude's a stud, right? He's like 4th in the NCAA in shooting percentage. I'm sorry, Coastal hasn't played anybody. Come to me when conference play starts, and let's see where the double doubles are. Let's see where the field goal percentage is and where it ranks in the nation. Have some perspective on it. In DPR, it's great that Mark Richards, has a high DPR, whatever. Show me what his DPR is in nationals. Show me what his DPR is against quad 1, against top 25 or something like that. Just a little bit of perspective, because for those of you saying Iowa had a great season, yeah. They had a great season. If you're a mid-major team, they didn't play anybody. And the 3 teams they played, they lost 92-0. So spare me.
I hear you, man. And since we're a little bit of talk on college football, they got to switch it up. You're going to 12 teams next season. That means the Power 5 teams that don't make it should probably just not do anything, because with all the opt-outs that are going to happen with the transfer portal, that's a joke. It's an absolute joke what is being put out there as competition. And I think Kirby Smart from Georgia said it best. Won't get into all of it, but what's happening isn't okay. None of that is okay. And I mean, people are spending good money to travel and to go to those games and to do all that stuff. I mean, it's what they're giving everyone. Look, take the group of 5 conferences like the Sun Belt and a few others, give them all the bowl games outside, because I just don't see any teams that are sending the team that played all season is not the team in the bowl game, right? So how can you look at the bowl game as? I think it's time for a massive overhaul of that whole process, and I don't know how they're going to do it.
So many examples. Missouri,
literally so many examples. You can't get into it because there's more than 10 in one season. That's not okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I just happened to watch the last couple minutes of Missouri-Ohio State. Missouri beats Ohio State 14-3. I'm like, wow, all right, yeah, Missouri had a pretty good season. Well, then I dig deeper. Ohio State didn't have their starting quarterback, plus about 7 other starters.
Yeah,
so you're right. It's just
not the same teams. I mean, we could get into the Florida State debacle, but playing third string and walk-ons all over the field, someone's going to get hurt.
That's a good point too. Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have kids that, that haven't played all season, aren't really prepared to play, have to play against some kids that, are frothing at the mouth because they've been playing all year. They don't feel the bruises the same. You know what I mean? Like someone's going to end up getting hurt in this process. And I don't know. It's got to be completely overhauled, or just do away with it.
It needs to be totally rethought, which brings me to my final college football point. I thought about putting this into my on, off, and in segment because I feel like I was in the hole on this growing up, because I grew up in a major college town, right? A Power 5 team.
Right.
But my career has always been kind of at the mid-major level. I've dabbled in some top 25 broadcasts, but most of my career has been at the mid-major level. Mm-hmm. So I felt like it kind of changed my opinion. But now changing my opinion has made me totally off the board on this. So I was going to put it in my off, but I've got another off I'm going to get to. So my preemptive off. And this goes along with the lines of what you're saying, that this whole thing has to be totally revamped. Liberty. Okay. Liberty, goes what 12-0, 13-0, thumping their chest. Give us
Yeah.
Michigan, give us Georgia, give us Alabama. We want a Power 5
You
school.
want no part of it.
And I've been out there a champion of Power 5 or a champion of Group of 5s and a mid major saying, why don't they put these Group of 5 and these mid majors against big programs like let's say we do against a big program? Well, you know what? Be careful what you wish for. So Liberty out of Conference USA, right? Unstoppable. Here they are, probably the best. I think they were the best Group of 5 school, and
that's why they got the nod.
Yeah, one of the top mid-major programs in the nation. Jamie Chadwell, I consider him a friend. He's a great coach. Here's what happens: you put Liberty against Oregon, and it's a shit show. I'm sorry, but it is. 43-6 was the final, and it was close for a minute. But it was just a disaster in the end.
And Oregon had opt-outs.
This goes to the point. It's not the same level. It's a fun storyline. It's not the same level. You can't put those guys up. And if you look down, there were a couple examples of some mid majors. Some Group of 5 schools that kept it close or got a win. Most of them, I mean, it's not the same. So what do we do? And you're right. Someone needs to rethink this and restructure everything because you really have, a very high level of teams now. Maybe we go to 4 super conferences and just have a championship level of colleges that are playing against each other. Yeah. And those who make it, make the final 12. Those who don't, you're done for the year.
Yeah.
And then we go back to like we used to do with 1AA. Have a 32 team playoff. It's cute. Maybe make those the bowl games now. And you do a 32 team. I'd watch something like that because it has to be 2 different levels. The Liberties, the Coastal Carolinas, and I love Coastal. I love the coaches and the staff and everything. They're not competing against Georgia or Alabama or Florida State or Clemson. They're gonna get the doors blown off. I don't care.
They do well.
I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it anymore.
Yeah, they do well in a 1-game situation mid-season against a mid to lower level Power 5 school, right? Yeah. And they'll pull off an upset against a North Carolina. Right, someone like that who just doesn't have that top tier talent. Yeah. And then it's like,
the Sun Belt has actually done that a lot.
Right, and look what they beat the Virginias of the world, right? Yeah. Like they don't beat the top level teams. They don't. They just
beat Kansas. Coastal beat Kansas back-to-back years.
Right. Yeah. Fine team, but they're not. They're not a top level. Power 5 school. So quit acting like you are. Right. Yeah. Just stop it. I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. By the way, Jamie Chadwell, maybe you make a call. Maybe get him Chapel Hill. Would love that. Could really use a young, vibrant, energetic coach.
Oh, he's amazing. He's a hell of a recruiter. And the fact that South Carolina didn't go after him
is crazy.
A few years ago. Shane Beamer and his dad, obviously terrific family and not a bad hire. But when you could have Jamie Chadwell.
Yep. I'm with you.
Yeah. South Carolina, where were you at this bowl season? Oh, that's right. Didn't make one. That wouldn't have been there if they would have been there if Jamie was their head coach.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. Do you think his accent is a problem? I'm dead serious. Yeah, I'm dead serious when I say this. We were watching the game. We were watching the game. They did an interview, and I was sitting with people that care nothing about college football, and they all looked at me like, "Really?" And I was like, I know, but he's a great coach. He's a great.
I never noticed. We used to have weekly conference calls.
It's a pretty thick. It's not a Southern accent. It's kind of a very country accent.
I think he's from Tennessee originally.
It's it's a tough sell when you've got multi-million dollar boosters and you've got to convince them to give. That's where I wonder if he can go to that next level, if he can handle all the things around being the head coach, outside of just being the head coach at a big time school. I wonder if that would be a problem for him. But anyway, I digress.
I got into a Twitter war with somebody about this too because they said that Jamie Chadwell got the Coastal Carolina football program or got the Charleston Southern football program on suspended and or on probation. And that is partially true. There were 55 student athletes over the entire athletic department who were suspended and punished for just various different violations. Right. But it was not just the football team, and it was not Jamie Chadwell. So I don't want to get into all those details, but anyway. But yeah. So something's got to be done with college football.
Yeah. They're
getting there. They're getting there. All right, we probably should start getting to power rankings and on, off, and in. Otherwise, we are totally going to run out of time.
I agree.
So let's do. You want to do power rankings first?
Yeah, we'll do power rankings
for the
first.
end.
Sure. All right, you ready?
I cannot wait to hear your power rankings.
I mean, it's really not that much different, but it is. All right,
so
you ready?
hang on.
Yeah,
Before we get started, what changed your mind? Just generally, what changed your mind? What were you looking for? What were you looking at this weekend? Are you looking
it's nothing specific. I think that I've always done these power rankings with the end of the season in mind. And I think I need to stop doing that as much.
Oh, interesting.
The end of the season will take care of itself. The last few top 10s will be the best players at the end of the season, and that'll kind of take care of itself. I need to start. I mean, I've still got people in there that I think are going to be there at the end, but there's just a lot that are out, and my favorite player is out of my own power ranking, right? So I think there needs to be, in my mind, I need to focus more on who's really good right now while still putting some folks in there that I think are going to be there at the end, and trying to balance that. And that's what I was trying to do this week, especially after coming off the largest open ever in ACL history. So, all right, number 10, Hunter Thorne continues to be an unbelievably good doubles player, and he's always kind of there in the mix in singles. He just is. He doesn't win. Like, I still don't know if Hunter can win a singles event at the national level, but he's going to be deep. And number 10 is deep, right? Number 10 is not number 1 in a power ranking, right? It's not the same. And so I've got Hunter in there. Jake Gore, number 9, continues to just do what he does. He's a top 10 player in the world, in my opinion.
Agreed.
He's just, as a matter of fact, I've had him out of my list for too long. Jake Gore deserves to be in. Number 8, my fun number. Welcome, Adam Hissner.
Yes, I like it. Yeah, dude's he's playing. I mean, he has. I don't know if rededication, refocus. I don't know if those are the right words. But yeah,
winning doubles with Trey Birchfield, played very well in singles. So Adam Hissner, you have made it as my number 8 in my top 10. Number 7, Ryan Windsor, another guy that's playing at an extraordinarily high level in both singles and doubles, and a guy that I think going forward, had this conversation with Kat Kennedy-Halbert, when we get to the Pro Series, you're going to have to do round limited games. I think he's a player that can play both well, round limit and a 21. That's why I've got him at 7. Number 6, Gavin Cano, a guy that I haven't had in my top 10s. I don't know why I haven't had him in my top 10s, but a guy that belongs in a top 10. One of the world's best.
You finally jumped on the Gavin Cano bandwagon with me.
It's one of those things. For whatever reason, he's been a player that I forget. Not forget, but just when I'm going through all the names, just for whatever reason, I haven't had him on there. But he continues to be one of the world's best players. I've got him at number 6. Number 5, Jeremiah Ellis.
Oh,
rookie by name only, but he's been so good. He's been so good all season. He wins brackets at big opens, whether it's in doubles or singles. He either wins it in singles or finishes second in his bracket, wins a bracket in doubles. I mean, the guy's that good. He's just that good. Number 4, Fisher Hamilton, one of the guys I thought he didn't have up to Fisher Hamilton type weekend, but I think his talent is his talent's too big to have taken him out, right? So I've still got him at 4. Number 3, Tony Smith, even though he wasn't there. And if he was there, I didn't see him. I don't think he was there. I got kind of caught over on the streaming courts and doing some other stuff, so I didn't see all of the brackets, but I don't think Tony was there. But I've still got him at number 3 because he was Tony
not
Smith.
There. Actually, you know what? He was not there. I talked to Mike Hennessy. Tony was not
there. That's what I thought. That's what I thought, but I just wanted to make sure. Number 2, Ryan Trader.
Oh, wow. Number 2.
I mean, he wins open singles in the largest open ever. Goes deep in doubles again. He's just he's winning everything he enters. So how do I not have him up there? For a while there, I kept pushing him back, going, well, we'll see when we get to national season how that all plays out, and we will. We'll still see how that all plays out. But for right now, you could argue with a lot of evidence he's the best player on the planet. I still have Mark Richards at number 1, and people will be like, well, Ryan beat Mark in this tournament. He did, but if you were to put them in a best of 7 series, I'm taking Mark Richards. right?
I like that. Okay.
And that's why I've got Mark at number 1, and that's my top 10. But as you'll notice, there's a lot of names not in there. A
Yep.
lot of names I do not have in there.
Yeah,
That
and
I've
now
had in
you've
the
got me
past.
confused on mine. You're right. You left out some powerhouse names.
But powerhouse names that aren't doing anything.
Yeah. I
mean,
I ain't mad at you, brother.
but no, at some point, I think, are they going to be back in July and August? Are those people going to be
Yep.
back? Probably, maybe.
Yep.
But for right now, they're not there. And I'll get into, and it's something I'm going to get into later in my on, off, and in, what I think's going on with some of them.
Okay. Speaking of which, we have an executive decision to make, and we have to make it quickly. I totally misjudged time. I was thinking we had an hour because remember when we were on live, we had the whole hour.
Right. Now
we only have 50 minutes, and then they throw the commercials in. We got 4 minutes left. Do you want to skip my power rankings and
we can? It's up to you.
Or you want to just save on, off, and in for next week, or you want to just try and go quick? You want to go quick?
You know what? Let's save on, off, and in for next week, unless you want to do it. Do you have something you want to say?
Let me get my power rankings, and we'll see how much time's left. Yeah. I don't think mine needs too much explanation. I think mine's probably a combination of thought of which you were, some of the points you had. All right, number 10, Ryan Windsor. Number 9, I don't know, Devin Harbaugh, but I'll do number 8, Jeremiah Ellis. I mean, my 8 and 9 and 10 are Kyle Malone, Devin Harbaugh, Ryan Windsor, Jeremiah Ellis, kind of throwing them all up in the air.
Yeah.
So whatever. I mean, I gotta pick 3 out of the 4. 7, Jake Gore, got it done again, as you were saying. I mean, singles and doubles this past weekend. So I got Jake at number 7. I've got Ryan Trader at 6. Should he be in my top 5? Maybe. I don't know why I feel like I want to see a little bit more from him, but dude's my favorite player to watch right now. I probably need to have him in my top 5, thinking about it again. But anyway, right now, Ryan Trader, number 6. I've got Jamie Graham still my number 5. I know he's my man crush. I get it. Yeah, save all the jokes.
I'm a huge fan of Jamie Graham's. He's just not doing it right now.
I know
at the top 10 level. That doesn't. He was here last year, and then he ends up winning the world championships. So
Jamie's going to stay in mine until if we get to the Pro Series and all of a sudden he's not there, then obviously I'm have to rethink that. But right now I still got him number 5. Gavin, I've got number 4. Fisher Hamilton number 3. Tony number 2, and Mark still number 1. I think it's going to take another dip. Another big dip for me to take Mark out of number 1. Just so good. And some honorable mentions. Alec Ryan, great job. Finished 2nd. Yes. Adam Hissner, just out of my top 10. I really wanted to put him in there. Joe Kay had a big weekend. Caden Allen. Ryan Hart.
Won
an event last year and played really well in singles and doubles this weekend.
Ryan Hart, I thought Wally said this best last year. Ryan Hart is a perfect example of the pro division.
Yep.
He's really good. They are that
dangerous,
good. I mean,
dangerous at times.
Random players in the middle of the pro division are extraordinarily good players. Yep. And he kind of worked his way up last year and is going to go higher with Jeremiah Ellis as his doubles partner. Sorry.
Yep.
Go ahead.
And then last one, just honorable mention from this weekend, Nico Morales. I got a text from him.
Yes.
I put him in my players to watch this season because of that moment he had, and I know he's a great player. I know he's had, where he's really had moments where he's really shined, and I was wondering if he was going to be able to use that momentum to carry over. And sounds like he's been really working hard behind the scenes. Had a good weekend. So shout out to Nico this weekend as well. All right, we got 1 minute left. You want to tease? All right. How about this? Save your on, off, and in. But can I just do one real quick? Can I just do my on? Because my on is actually both of us.
Okay.
My on the board, David Tepper, the owner of the Carolina Panthers. If you didn't see this, I mean, he is approaching being one of the worst franchise of owners of any professional sport in the history of sports. And this weekend in Jacksonville, just a disgusting act as he's sitting there, can't take some heckling from fans, and literally throws his drink out the window on some fans and was just fined $300,000 by the league.
Which is like a
Tony
nickel.
Kornheiser and Mike Wilpon were talking about it, saying, I mean, they went so far as to say the league needs to step up and get this guy out of the game.
I agree.
He has really disenfranchised him from everyone in the state of South Carolina, people in the Charlotte area, in the North Carolina, Raleigh area, which you don't want to do because that's where all the decisions are made. I mean, I'm not sure he has many friends left. And the fact that he's not winning, he's on a. I still think
he's trying to get them out of Charlotte. But I talked to a buddy of mine that said, well, the other owners have to agree on that. He can't just do it because he wants to. He has to find a way and if the other owners feel the way about him that we do, That's not going to happen. But who knows? I don't know what his relationship. Billionaires are different with other billionaires.
Yep.
Right?
Oh, I know. Yep.
Right?
But if they get some big time oil money or electric money out in Oklahoma City, and they want to build a big stadium, that could be a big discussion. But something's got to be done because he's bad for Charlotte, he's bad for the Panthers, and right now he's also bad for the sport. So you and I have been on this for a while, so we are definitely on the board. Can he change? Sure. So that's why he's on. That's why I think we're on instead of in the hole. But I'll give us credit, both of us being on the board on that.
100%.
We're way over. They're going to cut us
off. That's what we do.
All right, full on, off, and in next week. Happy New Year, my friend. Great to see you.
All right, bud.
Talk to you next week.
See ya.
Bye, everybody.